So I went back to Berlin, as it turned out, with Beckett. Beckett to the Schiller, I'm to a sort of off-Broadway type house with no money. And they didn't have any money, so I found myself broke. I said, well, wait a minute, my wife is here, I have a 5-month-old baby, and we're sleeping in the storage room in Edward Bond's play, Saved. Remember where they stoned the kid in the tram? And I got my little boy sleeping in the same tram. Well, and no money, right? I said, well, no. And they were very socialist theater, okay? They said, well, the actors vote on the play. So if we get a consensus of these guys, and they're all refugees from the Berliner Ensemble, right? They've all crossed the wall. And there's a tough group of guys, man. And this dragged on and on. They couldn't decide on the play. So I wrote Beckett a note, and I left it at the box office. I said, I'm out of here. I can't do it anymore. And he had the secretary tell me a message. The secretary of the theater said, Mr. Beckett wants you to come over to the Schiller Theater. He wants to talk to you. So I'm going over to the Schiller Theater, and the first thing he says to me is, here, this will help you. And he, I don't know, in American money, a couple of $1,000. You know, in German marks. But, and he said, I'm going to speak to the intendant about a position for you. You won't have to do anything. Just be here every day. So just like that, I'm invited to watch this man direct his masterpiece. They're going to pay me. And as it turned out, I wrote a frontispiece for the play program, which ran on for years. So, and then the Forum Theater decides that they will do Genet's play, and they want me to direct it. We know it as Death Watch, and about a prison situation. I felt qualified to do that. So I'm a half a day at the Schiller, and the rest of the day and that evening at the Forum with Genet. Beckett told me at the end of the process there that he would speak to the Deutsche Akademische, the German Academy has a program where they'll bring artists in, and you can get up to a year's grant with, you know, decent stipendium along with it. When we left Germany, went back to Chicago with Sam Beckett's Waiting for Godot schematic. Well, it was almost, 12 weeks of watching him do this, and I'd made all my notations, and my German improved quite a bit. So basically, it was going back to Chicago with the production, and we staged it back there. The workshop staged it. We staged Endgame as well. The mail brings an invitation to go back to Germany for a year, everything paid, because Beckett was successful in twisting this guy's arm. He got me back over. One of the things I had to do was a play. You know, that's your business, that's what you do. I couldn't write anything anymore. I was just, you know, everything I was thinking about was about Beckett's work. And so it turned out, got a wild idea to go see Beckett and ask him if he would direct me in Kraft's Last Tape, a play I had done at the prison. We'd done 3 productions of that play at the prison, 3 different actors. So I get in my old beat-up Mercedes, and I roll through the East and catch him at Stuttgart. It's the Deutsche Rundfunk there, and had a wild night in the parking lot because all the rooms he couldn't get a hotel room. So, and I kept thinking all night, how am I going to ask this man to do this? And the very next day, I turned up at the canteen, and I saw him walking in. Coffee, Sam? Yes. And I said, well, would you consider directing me in Kraft's Last Tape? Where? When? How? And I said, well, the Academy of Art in Berlin. And he said, okay. And that was the way we did it. So he came to Berlin, and we spent 30 days working on this play. We find ourselves in a recording studio in West Berlin, trying to get the 17 minutes of the tape that Kraft listens to whilst he is reminiscing about his past, or the year that has just passed. And I had studied it to the point where I didn't need a script to do this 17 minutes. But Beckett was behind a little glass window looking into the studio at me, and he had an interrupt button. So that as soon as something was not to what he liked, or what it sounded, or would you do that again or something, he would hit the interrupt button. So by about noon that first day, we had no useful tape, no tape we could use. And I was completely distracted by the quality of his voice when he would interrupt me and phrase the line. So after lunch, we came back in, and he said, I don't want to do any more recording. I want to sit down with you and go over it line by line. After that first day's session, I had his voice in my head. I couldn't remember the text anymore. I had to read it. And so we went back in the studio, and the second day was a little better, but still, he wants this done in one consecutive tape. Then you splice it, then you edit it. It turned out that at the end of the second day, we had no tape. We go back in, and I get one decent take. And it's the end of the day, and he says, well, this will be okay for our rehearsal. But if time permits, let's come back after we open and see if we can get it right. This is the great mystery man, you know, until he puts his hand on your shoulder. And it is bony. So, you know, you got to get it right. And he'll hang in there. I mean, he's tenacious as hell. I mean, he would just, and agonize over changes. Agonize if he was making the right decision.